So yeah, I think it's really, on the one hand, you can see the situation in Gaza in a very kind of negative light. You know, that the situation is getting more and more critical, and obviously since the bombing, even more so. On the other hand, it seems to me, looking at the international situation, that Gaza actually caused a tipping point. To me, it's been the last nail in the coffin of Israel's kind of PR image. The war crimes were so blatant, the evidence is so widely disseminated, that people who tried to justify Israel, friends of Israel, whether in the Middle East or in the West, are more and more exposed. They're more and more isolated. It's harder and harder for them to justify. And the movement, the grassroots movement in support of Palestine, in workplaces, in trade unions, in schools, in universities, has really gained a momentum since Gaza. And it seems to me, you know, now is really a time for everybody to be acting, to be joining that movement and making it make the difference, because, you know, the siege can be broken, and, you know, Palestine can be freed, and the resistance of the Palestinians, you know, has kind of shown us the way, and it's reached a point now where I think really the world is with Palestine, really in a much more meaningful way than it has been for a long time, and you really feel like pushing now is the thing that can really make all the difference, you know. And so whether it's, you know, building on the boycott and disinvestment movements, the sanction movements, severing all the links between, you know, universities here and universities there, or workplaces here and workplaces there, whatever it is, trade unions, or whether it's refusing to cooperate, you know, with the war machine, whether it's, you know, making munitions that get sold to them, or whether it's putting out propaganda. I mean, I'm a media worker, and something that I try and argue in my trade union is that we should have a policy of not cooperating with putting out propaganda which justifies it or tries to normalise, you know, the illegal occupation, the siege and all the rest of it, because it's a big part of the war, that propaganda, and it's just as much of a crime. And so, you know, but all of these things are ways in which we can do something. You know, I know the Free Gaza movement is planning a flotilla of ships to go by the sea in the spring, you know, and I would definitely say, you know, if you have ability to join something like that, then do it. It's an amazing experience, and it's really good for us sometimes to get out of our lives and do something that reminds us how the rest of the world lives, and reminds us what matters and what doesn't matter. You know, it's very easy to get bogged down in your day-to-day kind of, you know, nonsense, paying the bills and, you know, what's on telly tonight, and, you know, it kind of takes over. And it's really, I think it's very energising to go and do something that takes you out of that, and then come back and look at your life again and think, what am I doing with my time, with my, you know, with my life, with my energy, and is it the things that matter? And certainly, you know, when you see the way Palestinians live with so little, and yet so cheerfully and with so much dignity, it really makes you look again at, you know, some of the waste and the obscenity of how we live, and yet can't quite be bothered to get off our butts and, you know, do anything to help anyone. Whereas you can go to a refugee camp in Gaza where people really have nothing, and yet they come and they're so thankful to you, you know, and they're so hospitable, they're so friendly. You know, it's embarrassing, you know, the nice things they want to say to you, and that they want to feed you, you know, give you tea, and because they've got so little themselves, and yet they want to share it with you. And, you know, I think being British, we have a particular responsibility to Palestine, and I guess really the biggest thing I brought back with me from the convoy is it is possible to do something, and doing something can make a difference. And now is definitely a time for all of us to be kind of upping the ante and trying to make that difference.
Hi Josie, my name's Naomi. I work with Jews for boycotting Israeli goods. So watching the film and seeing the understandable rage of so many people against Jews. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, I feel like to speak, the whole idea that they are anti-Semites is just so absurd. I mean, what are you going to say if your family is being slaughtered and your houses are being blown up around you? But obviously it's important for me to see that and to take it on board and somehow manage to deal with it. But my question was, you know, you talked about having to hand in your passports and things. Did you actually get any support from the British embassy? Because I mean, we were all bombarding the Foreign Office and phoning the embassy in Cairo, and it seemed like we were getting no response at all. But somebody who was on the convoy said that you did get some help. What was the
At one point, there was some sort of a rumour that the Brits say that no one will be arrested. What they didn't do at any point was send anybody down. What we were doing the whole time was asking, you know, we're being threatened, members of our convoy are told they're going to be persecuted, if people get arrested, you know, we've no idea what's going to happen to them here, you know, Egypt's made it pretty clear they hate us. Could you please send somebody down to try and guarantee the safety of, you know, these people who are, after all, only delivering medicine into a place that apparently, allegedly has the right to receive it, and yet they're being persecuted in this way? No. We didn't see hide nor hair of anyone. Some junior person apparently was on the phone to some people.
They came down on Saturday. I was on the convoy as well, in the airport on Saturday.
Oh, to the airport?
They came down about 6 o'clock in the evening on the Saturday after we left. But they should have come when we got to El Arish, because, you know, the masses of riot police were amassed at the gates there, so there was likely to be an incident. And I think there were people on the phone to them then, but that was on the Thursday, that was on the Wednesday, Thursday. So finally somebody came on Saturday to the airport and gave us a letter telling us that we've been deported.
Thank you. Right, that answers my question.
I phoned them because that's my sister. I phoned them. I was concerned, obviously, about her and everyone, and they were just so uncooperative. They treated you just for phoning and discussing it like you weren't a citizen, you know. I don't know how many other people had that experience, but you know, they were just, well, we'll keep a careful eye and we're monitoring from afar, and they just, you know, just didn't want to know absolutely nothing.
Monitoring from afar is about right.
Yeah.
Working out who to put on what blacklist.
Yeah, they're just basically saying it was Egypt's responsibility and they weren't getting involved, basically.
Did they trot out to you the old line that our advice to British citizens is it's very dangerous to go to Gaza?
They did. In fact, they said to me, well, they've ignored our advice. I said, well, so what does that mean? So now they no longer have any rights? They don't have, you don't have no longer extend protection to them as you would other British citizens? No. Well, then why do you mention it? Oh, no, and then move back to, well, we're monitoring the situation from the farm.
What happens if Egypt closes the tunnels?
Well, things are going to become harder, but you know, I don't know, I mean, the Palestinians in Gaza have been resisting for 60 years, all sorts of things that have been thrown at them, and I'm sure they will find other ways. It will be, you know, that bit harder. And, you know, I mean, it already is a disaster zone, it already is a catastrophe, it will be a worse one, but will they all give up? Will they all leave? No. You know, they made it really clear, whatever comes, they're not going anywhere. It's their land. There's a really interesting speech there was a big PSC meeting last Tuesday in central London. I went to that, and the speaker from the British Muslim Initiative, I think is Anas Al-Tikriti, he made a really good point. He said, it's the one disaster zone in the world where the people aren't trying to leave, so other people are desperately trying to get in. You know, all the times that the borders have been open, there's something like 600,000 in the last year. Something like 600,000 Palestinians left. 700,000 Palestinians came in. You know, people from the international community are trying to get in, but not being allowed access. You know, the Palestinians aren't going anywhere. You know, it's that steadfastness, it's that kind of principled resistance, that kind of standing up for their rights despite everything, which is what has, in fact, in the end, won them the PR battle with Israel. You know, because despite everything, all the money that Israel's got behind it, you know, in the end, their version just doesn't correlate with reality.